I'm gonna do the Map of the Soul 7 book tag and challenge, where I try and recommend you a book for each of the track on the new BTS album and try to do each one in under 1 minute. So for all those who don't know, the new BTS album came out on February 21st, and so now it's been a little bit over a week since that album came out. Everybody kind of had a time to listen to it, to get into it, to, maybe already choose a couple of favorites. I had my favorites basically immediately, but yeah, everybody kind of had time to listen to it, to get into it, to really get a feel for this album. And again, me and a couple of booktubers have come together to do this video where we recommend a book for each of the tracks on this new album, and we have done a video for each of the members' birthdays. We're gonna do one for Yoongi's birthday next week as well. But yeah, I'm just very excited about this one, and again, I will try to do it in under 1 minute. I'm not gonna time myself. I just mess up a lot in sentences and I redo sentences a lot, so I feel like it wouldn't really work for me. So I'm just gonna try and keep it that way, but I can only really see during editing if it's actually gonna end up working out. But I'm just gonna get into it because I know even if I mostly stick to this challenge, I will still have a super long video. And then also there's definitely one track where I want to take my time to talk about it a little bit. So I'm gonna go through the track list as the songs appear on this album, but I do want to start with the 3 songs that are Intro Persona, Interlude Shadow, and Outro Ego, because I have decided to go with a trilogy for those 3 songs. And I just wanted to start with them because those 3 songs are kind of the core of this album. They are the core of this whole, Map of the Soul journey. And so I thought that it would just make the most sense for me to put them all together in the beginning and talk about them all together. And so for those 3 songs, I have decided to go with the Shades of Magic trilogy by V.E. Schwab. This one is not so much the first book for Persona, the second book for Shadow, the third book for Ego. It is more the characters' journeys, and it's gonna be hard for me to get into this without getting into spoiler territory, so I'm not even going to talk about this too much. I do think that Persona very much fits Kel, especially in the first book. Kel kind of this obvious question of who am I, which is obviously, all throughout Persona. We definitely have that. That's the very obvious one that we have. And then it's just in general, Kel also just being a little bit lost where to go. There is a difference between, how people see him and how he sees himself. There is a difference between where people want him to go and where he wants to go, but he's also not really sure what he really wants and where he really wants to go. And does he want to stay, or does he want to run? Or there are so many things that I think really work for this first book and for Kel, especially as we kind of, meet him in this first book, and also where his journey is going to go throughout the trilogy. That for me very much fits Persona. Then we have Shadow for Holland. I mean, I do think that you could see those 3 books for those 3 songs specifically as well, because I do think that the song Shadow very much represents Holland's journey in A Gathering of Shadows more than any of the other books. But I can only encourage you to look at the lyrics of Shadow and then think of Holland and think of his journey throughout this whole trilogy, but especially in the second book, and the fact that, even just small things even that are right there, I want to be king, but then also I want to be me. And this whole talk about how this is the goal that I've wanted, this is the place that I've wanted to reach, but now that I'm here, it just doesn't feel right. And there are these shadows, and it's just all not as great and wonderful as it might have seemed. And there's so many things that are just not the way that I wanted them to be, but at the same time I'm at the place where I wanted it to be, so why does it not feel right? And then just in general, even the end, how this person is this shadow as well. If you have read the book, you will see where I'm going and what's happening. It is just so much, and I went down a whole ass spiral realizing how well this fits. The third book definitely fits Ego for Lila, because Ego to me is where Lila is as a character at the end of this trilogy. I think that, you know, she has just very much come to find herself, and she does think about her past, but she thinks about how she has left her past behind, and she thinks about how, you know, destiny and fate kind of led her to where she is now, and that this was always the path that she was kind of supposed to go on. She trusts herself only. She is very much about herself and herself first, and I just definitely think that that is represented in Ego. And I just love that we have that whole journey of persona, shadow, and ego kind of represented in those 3 books. I'm very, very happy about this one, and I'm always happy if I can just somehow put Shades of Magic in these book tags and challenges and recommendations. So now let's actually move on with the track list, and the second one is Boy With Love, for which I choose Geekerella by Ashley Poston. Now I found Boy With Love relatively hard because it is so clearly about, you know, like, which is for many of these songs, it's very clearly about BTS and ARMY and that kind of relationship. But for me, ultimately, what this song kind of expresses is someone out there who, you know, really just made you fly high, but at the same time is the person who keeps you grounded. I just kind of like that for Geekerella, because I do think that that is kind of what both of these characters do to each other. Obviously, one of those, you know, main characters is a famous actor, so he definitely already kind of is flying high, but still just like in a personal way, and with where they go like personally and as characters, I think that both of them very much help each other to kind of grow. And I think that they teach each other like just what kind of like good people they are, and that they deserve to be loved, and that they, you know, just deserve to put themselves out there as well. And again, I just think that they kind of teach that to each other, but I think they also very much keep each other grounded. And then why I ended up really going with this book is because obviously this is a lot about fandom as well, and I just like that, like any book in this whole video that has either a found family theme or has some kind of, you know, fandom theme just made me very happy, because it always overall fits with the theme of like BTS. The next song is Make It Right, and for me Make It Right is very much a song that is about you helped me in a certain way to get to the place where I am now, and now I want to do the same for you. I want to make sure that you're okay. I want to take care of you, and what really matters at the end of the day is you, and that you are, you know, doing okay, and I just want to make things right for you. And so I ended up going with This Is How You Lose the Time War, which is a book that I choose in my hobby video as well. I love that book with all of my heart, and I do love Make It Right quite a lot as well. So it was a great fit for me. I don't even know how to explain this, because to me this one seems very obvious. It was kind of like this immediate gut reaction just reading the lyrics for Make It Right and just kind of thinking about it. I was like, this is How You Lose the Time War for me, because it's about these 2 people in the middle of this war who at the end of the day are so ready to just like sacrifice things for each other, and who are so ready to just like be with each other. This is just one of those things where I just felt that very much in my heart more than anything, but I do hope that you would make that connection too if you read this book and if you know the lyrics of Make It Right. The next song is Jamais Vu, and for me this is one of the saddest songs on this whole entire album. I think that a lot of BTS songs definitely have like sadder themes, and like obviously you have a full fucking Shadow, which is just like so sad and just really, you know, just puts this weight on your chest as well, or is like a darker song. For me this is just like a full-on sad song, and I think a lot of the other like sad songs, they end up having a hopeful message and stuff like that, and for me this one doesn't really have. But I do really like the song, and really looking at the lyrics made me appreciate it a lot more, and I'm on a journey to really truly loving this song quite a lot. So for me this song is very much about going through something again and again, experiencing it again and again, and like thinking you would learn from it but just not learning from it, and just kind of like experiencing this pain again and again, and how it kind of seems familiar, but then at the same time it's like you've never experienced this situation before, and again you just kind of like keep keep making the same mistake over and over again. And I found this relatively hard because I feel like so many of the books that I read don't really have anything like that. They don't really focus like, you know, on a relationship where the people just like can't work it out. Basically everything that I usually read ends up in a happy end. So I decided to go with Our Year of Maybe because that is a book about a friendship breakup and also unrequited love. Both of the characters in this book very much struggle with their friendship, and they struggle with, you know, what they want from each other, what they want to give to the other person. And both of them kind of really want to save their friendship, but even though they try and try again, they just really can't seem to make it happen, and eventually, you know, kind of realize that it just doesn't work out. Like there's no way to work this out. There's no way to make this happen. And like they can go on and on and on like this, and they can like fuck themselves over again and again and again and go through all of this pain and go through all of these situations again and again. But at the end of the day, like they just realize like this is always the same situation, and we're just putting each other through all of this pain and just making things worse. And so for me, this was the most fitting book that I could find, and definitely the book that very much at least represents the vibe of those lyrics and the song. Next we have Dionysos. I very much found this a hard choice as well, because it's like you can really dig into this song, I feel like, and you can really analyze the shit out of this song and like really go deep into it and like look into like the Greek mythology around this as well, which I don't want to do. I've never really been into Greek mythology, so I decided to go with the very surface level of those lyrics and just kind of think about how much it is about drinking, and it is about fame. It is definitely about like, you know, drinking and having fun, but BTS always has so much meaning to their stuff, and they always look at things from so many sides, that I decided to go with a book that kind of deals with all of that in a critical way as well. And so I decided to go with The Brightsiders by Jen Wilde. This is a YA contemporary that deals with fame, and it deals with alcohol abuse. It is a novel that has a lot of queer elements in it, and I don't know, just kind of reading through the lyrics, and again just really looking surface level, like surface level, but also thinking about how, you know, BTS always look at everything critically and look at everything from so many different point of views and look at so many different kind of layers. I did kind of find a relation between The Brightsiders and that song, but I also just really wanted to put this book on this list because I think it's a really good book that is really underrated with a lot of really great themes in it. And again, this does deal with fame as well. You know, the main character is the singer of like this queer band, and it kind of deals with how hard that can be as well, which is like such a general BTS theme too. So I definitely think that it fit in the overall grand scheme of things. Obviously in the track list we would now have Interlude Shadow, but I've already talked about that, so let's move on to Black Swan. Now I have this for 2 or 3 of the choices where I decided to go not with a book that is kind of like, you know, the song is represented in the story, but with this one I went on a different level a little bit for Black Swan, which is a song that I very much like and very much relate to its themes, you know, as someone who has made their passion their career as well. What I decided to go with in this case, you know, where this song is about like falling out of love with this thing that you just love so much and that you appreciate so much and that has given you so much strength before, and all of a sudden you're kind of just like, I don't know what the fuck is happening to me. Like, what am I going to do if I no longer love this thing? And just like kind of losing that part of yourself. And I decided to go with Vicious by V. Schwab. And the reason why I decided to choose this is because Vicious is the book that Victoria Schwab wrote as she was falling out of love with writing. And I have always loved that story. Publishing is a hard industry, and it is an industry where you make your passion your job and you just hope that you can make money with it. But it's fucking hard, and not everybody has the privilege of, you know, making money with it. Not everybody has the privilege to sustain their life with writing, but then it also just takes up so much of your time and it takes up so much of your energy. I just know that, you know, when the publishing industry and readers all across the world were not loving Victoria Schwab as much as they do nowadays and as much as she deserves, that, you know, she was very much just kind of starting to fall out of love with writing because of the publishing industry. And that's when, in secret, without telling her agent, she wrote Vicious. And that is how she kind of found her love for writing again. And I just love that story. I love that story with my entire heart, and I couldn't think of a better choice for Black Swan. Next we have Filter, which is definitely another song that I very much struggled with, because Filter is a song that is another one where you can look at the surface level of it, but you can also like analyze the shit out of it. So I decided to go with a book where I think that you can kind of find both in this book, and that is The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. This for me very much represents, first of all, this surface level of this song, where it's just like, this is kind of like, you know, it's like a sexy song, and it's like, you know, just like putting yourself out there, which is definitely what Evelyn Hugo does. And she's this public figure that puts out this, you know, very clear picture of herself, and everybody has this very clear image of. But then we see all these different sides of Evelyn Hugo, and we also see that even in her non-public life, Evelyn puts on those different filters, and she still puts on, you know, certain kind of personalities, or she hides certain kind of personalities under filters. And even her in her relationships with all her husbands, you know, kind of like hide certain things, or just kind of like, you know, not even consciously, but like changes parts of herself and stuff like that. And I just found that that was such an interesting choice for this song, because again, it has both this kind of like, oh, this is just like a fun song about like, oh, I can be whatever you want, and, you know, kind of with that representing this public figure of Evelyn Hugo. But then at the same time, when you go a little bit deeper and you look more into the song, and, you know, kind of like seeing that it's actually like a really, really kind of like sad song, and just kind of like, you know, understanding what is going on in this song as well. I think that we can very, very much find that in Evelyn Hugo and her like non-public life as well. Then next we have My Time, and My Time is a song that is, you know, about JK and his journey, and how he obviously, you know, has given up a lot of things for where he is now, and that he loves where he is at now, and, you know, wouldn't have it any other way, but that he's also kind of thinking about all the things that he's missed, and all the things that he, you know, didn't get to experience, all the things that he didn't have in his life. And so I'm very happy to have found this book, because I think it is an almost perfect representation of that song, and that is Lady Midnight by Cassandra Clare. And very specifically, this reminded me of Julian Blackthorne, who has given up his childhood and has given up so much of his life to take care of his family. And you can definitely find him just kind of like realizing that and thinking about that in this whole trilogy, how that is the life that he chose, and he does not regret that, and he would not have it any other way under any circumstance. But at the same time, that still means that his childhood was lost, and he gave up so many things to take care of the other people in his life. And I think that is an aspect that I was really happy to find in this book as well, where, you know, again, I'm very happy if something has a found family aspect. Obviously, this is like not a found family, it's like a family, but like still, I'm very happy whenever any of these choices had a found family aspect. And I think for this one especially, it was very important for me, because My Time is not only about, you know, JK gave up all of these things for fame. It's also that the reason why he was able to, you know, go through all of this, and the reason why he always felt that it was worth it, is not just because of the fame, it is also because of the people that he's surrounded by. And so that is Julian Blackthorne to a T, and I just love that so much, and it just made me very happy and also very sad. Next we have Louder Than Bombs, which I found another one that was really hard. I think this is another one where it's kind of like a little bit hard to take it out of context, but for me, I decided to go with this song as something that's like, you are really seeing someone, you're seeing their pain, and you're being there for them, and you're walking together. And so I decided to go with The Lost Coast by Amy Rose Capetta, which is one of my favorite books that I read last year. As always, I will leave reviews to the books where I have reviews for in the description down below, because this is a recommendation video, and if you haven't read these books, especially if they have diverse elements like The Lost Coast, I really want you to read them. But The Lost Coast is a YA kind of speculative fiction book, And it is another one that has a big found family aspect in there. It is about this group of girls who basically have become their family and who just really take so much care of each other, who live through their pain together. It's not even just like them kind of, like seeing the other person for the pain that they experience. They share their pain with each other and they make each other's pain easier by just like sharing everything together. They are almost like this entity that shares all of these things together. These girls are like just so ready to do whatever needs to be done for each other and to make the pain better. That's the thing. It's not like I will just make the pain go away. Like I will go through this pain with you and I will experience it with you. And to me, that is louder than bombs. Next we have On, which surprisingly I found way harder than I thought it was going to be. I thought this is going to be easy. It's a song about like, can't hold me down because I'm a fighter, and just like bring the pain. Like I don't care. Like I have grown as a person and like I can fucking deal with this. Like you can't fucking scare me and you can't put me down. I thought there has to be like so many books out there who represent that kind of character development, right? I found this so hard, and even when there was a book where I was like, I like this, I didn't really like how it fit with the vibe of this song. And I don't know if it's because On is one of my favorite songs or whatever, but for me with this one, I really wanted to have a book that fit the vibe of the song as well. I really needed a really fucking badass main character, and so I decided to go with The Abyss Surrounds Us by Emily Skrutsky, because that main character is such a fucking badass, and she goes on such a journey and becomes such a strong person. And she also learns so much. She also learns that the people that you like learn to trust, the people that you like grew up with, the people that like made you who you are, they are not necessarily the people that you just kind of have to follow for the rest of the life. They are not necessarily the people that want the best for you, that know what's right for you. The main character very much goes on this journey in this novel to kind of find out what she truly wants, and she experiences a lot of pain on that journey, but at the end of it, she's like so much stronger for it and really realizes who she is and what she wants through all this pain and through all this shit that she goes through and through all these bad things that she experiences. And so this is definitely one where I'm like not 100% happy with the way the book represents the lyrics, because I am so sure that there's books out there who fit way more perfectly, who just like have this exact story, who have a character who goes through a lot of pain, like maybe like a revenge story, almost something like that. Like I just know in my head that there is a book out there that has that. But for me, what really ended up working with The Abyss Surrounds Us is that I can literally see our main character standing on top of her sea monster, like riding her fucking sea monster with On playing in the background. And the satisfaction that that kind of image gave me was more than enough for me to end up choosing this. The next song is, I still don't know how to pronounce it, because like when I read this word I want to be like ugh. But the next song, the Repline song, it is a song about like malicious anger and how like anger really does nothing and doesn't bring us forward, and like why all this fucking anger, it's such a waste. And I decided to go with Mockingjay, the third book in the Hunger Games trilogy, because I think that if you look at the lyrics, a lot of the things just fit so very well. I even wrote down a couple of things. Anger, sure, it's necessary, which 100% we see that. Katniss is fucking angry through a lot of this trilogy, and like it's not like it's like you can't be mad at the things that are happening around you, but like the anger that you put out there and where it might lead, like the consequences of that, they can be really fucking bad, which we very much realize, or Katniss very much realizes at the end of this book. And she has always been the type of person who was like, yes, we need a better situation and like there has to be this conflict, but like I don't want to be at war. I don't want a big war to happen. And she has always stood for that. When something burns, it's with purpose. Perhaps that's our history. Sometimes that changes the world. Her being the girl on fire and her burning is what changed the world, and that was obviously for the good. But a lot of what this rebellion is putting out there is like human waste and like doesn't even make any fucking sense and just ends up hurting more people than it does good. Obviously at the end of the day, it's still this like rebellion, and it's still like Katniss in the middle of this rebellion and there's so much anger that she has, you know, towards plenty of people in this trilogy. But I think that at the end of the day, she still very much stands for, you know, don't have this random anger and make everything worse. And that's kind of why I wanted to go with this choice. Then we have 0 O'Clock, which is another one of my favorite songs, and a song that like immediately got to me. Like even before I read the lyrics, I was listening to it and I had just a full experience and just like immediately felt like the message of this song very much, you know, I very much was able to receive the message of the song without actually understanding the lyrics. So it means a lot to me. And I did think that I found quite a good book, and that is The Meaning of Birds by J. Robin Brown. The Meaning of Birds is a YA contemporary that deals a lot with grief, but it is a book that at the end of it is like definitely hopeful. And it's like you have experienced all of this pain and you have experienced all of this grief, and it's something that will always be with you, but you're moving on and things are getting better. And so I think that is very much 0 O'Clock. What I really like about this song and about the lyrics of this song, well, first of all, I definitely think that even though obviously nothing is mentioned, I think that it is very, very like mental health coded. I just read through it and I'm like, yeah, like that's depression, you know, which like it's obviously not right there, but I think it's very much there. It just makes me happy to have that kind of representation in a BTS song. But, you know, it's so much about like a better day will come and things will get better and tomorrow is a new day and things will feel better. But it's also about how like every day is not necessarily better. I think that this song also talks about how you just need time and like it's a new day. This day might be just as shitty, but then tomorrow is another new day, and tomorrow is another new day, and tomorrow is another new day, and it just goes on and on and on, and eventually things will get better, and eventually things will feel better, and eventually things will heal. And I just think that that is very much the journey of the main character in The Meaning of Birds. Not just this like, okay, I'm just like, you know, putting a check mark on it, I'm moving on, but just like living through it and going day by day and taking things day by day, taking this grief day by day, seeing every day, how do I feel today? You know, do I feel a little bit better? Or if not, that's fine too. Do I feel worse? That's fine too. And just like going through it, living through this pain, this grief, but then at the end of the day, still knowing that, you know, after many days, you will come out of it fine and you're gonna be happy, you know? And then on top of that, one of the things that this book deals with is that the main character is kind of losing her passion for art because the person that she lost in her life was so connected to her art and really motivated her to do this art. And with losing this person, she is losing her passion for this thing as well and her motivation to do this thing. And that's such a general theme of this whole album that I thought it was just the perfect choice. Next we have Inner Child, which is my favorite song from this whole album and is also my new favorite BTS song of all time, which I was definitely not expecting. That definitely caught me off guard quite a lot, but made me also very happy and made my heart feel very full. I love this song with my whole heart. I think it's a beautiful song and I think that the message and the lyrics are beautiful as well. It is a song that is about, you know, looking back at your childhood, looking back at you as a child and thinking about how hard things were, but like just knowing where you are now, that you could just tell your younger self like you're gonna be fine because you're gonna get to where I am. And for this one, I decided to go with City of Heavenly Fire, Cassandra Clare. For me, this is very much Jace Herondale's journey, and it is just him, you know, kind of becoming a much better, happier person, you know, him having this great life surrounded by people that he loves, that love him and that do so unconditionally. Him like looking back at his past and thinking about how much pain this child went through, but also knowing and recognizing that those things that he went through is why he is the way that he is, and is also why he is where he is at in life, and all these things led him to that. And like obviously Jace's life is incredibly tragic and incredibly sad and incredibly dark, but I still think that the general theme is the same. And I also think that especially, you know, not just with like the journey that they went through where it's like, you know, this was them as a child and now they are this much happier, you know, better person. But also I think that just as Tae is kind of looking back at his younger self and telling his younger self like, you're gonna be okay because you're gonna be me one day, I think that Jace is doing the exact same thing. And I think that both of these would not want to do anything differently because they know this is just where life has led them, you know, and I just love that a lot, and it makes me feel really fucking soft. Okay, sorry for the lighting, but not only am I starting to lose daylight anyway, it has also just really started raining, so it just got really dark outside, and I decided to just go with artificial light for the rest of this video. But the next song is Friends, and Friends is the song where I just really want to take my time to talk about it, because Friends is another song where I decided to not go with a book that, you know, is like a similar theme, but it's more so a book that kind of relates to me personally and how I relate to this song, and I just want to get a little bit into this. The reason why I decided not to go with a book that kind of represents the song and the theme is because, to me personally, there is absolutely no way to find a book that has a friendship that is as precious as Tae and Jimin's friendship is, and I just knew that I wanted to go a different route with it. I should just, you know, show you the book and then kind of really get into it. So I decided to go with City of Bones, the first book in the Modern Instruments, and this kind of being representative for basically all of the Shadowhunter books for plenty of different reasons. This is one of the books that I buddy read with Melanie. Melanie is my best friend and Melanie is my soulmate, and I just love Melanie so much. The friendship between Jimin and Tae means a whole lot to us, and you know, she's Jimin biased and I am Tae biased, and their friendship really just means a lot to us, and we see ourselves in this friendship, and I just think that, you know, I don't even think that, that's like a fact. Her getting into BTS and her getting me into BTS and us just like being ARMY together has really strengthened our friendship and has, you know, just like brought us together more than we already were, especially just like seeing, you know, Tae and Jimin and their friendship has also just very much made us see our friendship as well, and I think again that we very much like recognize ourselves in their friendship too. And so I just knew that for this song I wanted to choose something that kind of, you know, relates to her and that reminds me of her, especially because this song, like, you know, on top of the fact that it is a song that Tae and Jimin, you know, are doing together about their friendship and fucking singing "You Are My Soulmate" in it. On top of all of that, on the day that the album came out, I was not able to listen to it as it dropped, and Melanie waited for me to come home from work so we could listen to it together, which is one of my favorite things that I have experienced in my little bit over 6 months of being ARMY, and maybe one of my favorite things I have experienced in my life, because it was just such a memorable, strong, wonderful, beautiful moment that I just loved a whole lot and truly just means the absolute world to me. It's something that I will just never forget. So this song just means a lot to me and means the most to me actually from this whole album, and it is very much because of Melanie. And so I was like, okay, don't have a book where there is a friendship that, you know, means the same to me. So, you know, I decided to go with something that kind of in several ways reminds me of Melanie and our friendship. So City of Bones is one of the books that we have buddy read together, but then there's so many things that kind of come together as to why I said this for me is representative of the whole Shadowhunter books, because first of all, she was reading through all the Shadowhunter books for the first time when we kind of really started becoming friends. So I think it always will mean a lot to me because I think we very much bonded over that. And I remember her like sending me snaps of like, I think it was Clockwork Prince or Clockwork Princess at the time, her reading that, and I think that's when we like really started talking and really starting to become close friends. And so that always means a lot to me. We read Queen of Air and Darkness together, we kind of experienced that release together. The first book that we ever buddy read together was The Bane Chronicles, and then we do see so many wonderful friendships portrayed in the Shadowhunter world. You know, I think that if there is one friendship that comes just a little bit close to the friendship between Tae and Jimin, it would be Will and Jem from the Infernal Devices. So just for me, again, like knowing immediately, I wanted a book that was kind of reminding me of Melanie and my friendship with her. I just knew that this book brought so many things together for me and just like holds a lot of like good memories. Just like looking at this book, I think of this buddy read and I just think about us watching the movie together and just all of these Shadowhunter memories that are kind of like, you know, spread throughout the time that we have been friends. And so it just meant a lot to me, just as a song does, just as Melanie does. And that's why I decided to go with this one. And I know I just rambled on about this for so long, but it was really, 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 really important for me to put that out there and to just talk about it in depth, because again, just it all just means the fucking world to me. And I probably forgot to talk about like 5,000 things that I wanted to mention because there's so much. But like the gist of it is that this song means the absolute world to me, and that I will cherish it forever, and that I'm just so thankful to have Melanie in my life. Oh, and then obviously, you know, the fact that I choose City of Heavenly Fire for Inner Child and City of Bones for Friends, that made me really fucking soft too, because those songs definitely have a connection to me, just as those books obviously have, because they're part of the same series. A big part as to why Kim Tae-young is the man that he is today is Park Jimin, and other way around as well. So like, I'm feeling extra soft about that connection too. It's just a lot. Okay, let's move on and be quicker again. For Moon, I've decided to go with Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor. First of all, just this general image that Jin kind of has in this song about the moon and the earth kind of reminded me of, you know, this relationship between Laszlo and Sarai, and just the moths, and how that's kind of the first connection that they have, where they don't even actually see each other, and they're kind of far away from each other, but they still have this immediate connection and still like immediately mean so much to each other. And then I think that this song is so much about like, I know that you see me and I see you too. I hope that you can see your worth just as you see my worth, and just as I see yours as well. And like, I just think that that is very much the journey of these two characters as well. I think that they are teaching each other to see their own worth. And I just think that that is, you know, just very, very much the relationship between these two, and one of the really, really important aspects of that relationship. And then I also think it's one of those books where it fits the general vibe of just BTS and ARMY, where like, to me, this is definitely a book about like escapism as well. And I just think that BTS always just represents escapism for so many armies. So I just love that as well. Then we have Respect, which Respect I found incredibly hard, because basically it's just a conversation between Namjoon and Yoongi, you know, just talking about the word respect, and how like so many people just don't really understand the meaning, and how they don't really understand the meaning, and what does it even fucking mean? So this is definitely a little bit of a stretch, but I decided to go with Sawkill Girls for the reason that, you know, again, they talk about like, what does that word even mean? They talk about how a lot of people use it way too lightly, and that it's like such a strong word where people don't really see what a strong word it is, you know. And it's also just them being like, people don't pay us the respect that we deserve. And so Soccer Girls for me was just a good choice, because that book has such strong feminism themes, and I think that, you know, it is so much about, first of all, it's so much about, you know, men not paying these girls the respect that they deserve. Second of all, I think it is about these girls, you know, going through character development where they don't give themselves enough respect. And as they start doing that throughout the novel, that's when they start just like being fed up with the bullshit that men put them through, and being like, we're no longer going to do that, and just starting to go against that. To me, that was the best choice that I found for Respect. I love this choice, and I do think that Soccer Girls is an amazing book, and I loved it quite a lot. So I felt really happy putting it on a recommendation list, but it is a stretch. And then we have The Eternal, which is obviously another song that very much focuses on the relationship between ARMY and BTS. So what I decided to focus on for this tag is more so, you know, the story and the path that BTS has gone through, you know, like even kind of taking away the ARMY aspect, just kind of looking at how far they have come and how far they have made it, and the fact that, you know, they are forever bulletproof, and they've been through all the shit, and you know, now they are so much stronger, and people can no longer put them down. And also how they achieved all of these things together. And again, here's the found family aspect. I decided to go with Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. I think that, you know, this is just a story where these characters come together, and they have, you know, experienced pretty horrible things, but all of them together form this really amazing, big, strong group, and all of them together become this unbeatable force, and they are so important to each other. There's no way that they could have done what they did without each other. And I think that that is the exact same way as BTS, and I think that that is also the exact same way as BTS and ARMY, you know? So I don't know, I just really, really love this one a lot, because this is so much about these, you know, kind of like broken kids who have, again, gone through so much stuff and who have experienced so much pain and so many horrible things, but they are so strong together. They are so strong together, and they come so far together and go on this huge journey, you know, both in the actual sense of like going on a journey and like doing all of these things, but also on a character journey in these 2 books. And then finally, because we have decided to do the full 20 songs and to do On in the Sia version as well, I'm being really fucking cheeky and just choosing The Edge of the Abyss. For On featuring Sia, if you remember, you know, my On choice was The Abyss Surrounds Us, and I do think that it fits because, you know, The Edge of the Abyss is just very much the continuation of this character development as well. Like, obviously it's the continuation of the story, as sequels often work, but it is also, you know, her getting even stronger, her even more realizing, you know, just who she is, what she wants, what she stands for, most of all. And I just think that that's kind of On featuring Sia, you know, it's just adding another person, it's adding another layer, it's just adding more, it's just putting something on top, and that is what The Edge of the Abyss does. This is a little bit of a cop out, but honestly, at this point, I've been filming for so long, I'm fucking exhausted, and we just gotta deal with it. So yeah, that was my Map of the Soul 7 tag with 20 book recommendations. I really, really hope you enjoyed watching this. If you have made it this far, I'm pretty sure, just with the amount of footage that I have completely, absolutely failed this challenge of trying to talk about these books in less than a minute. But I did think that it helped me to try and be concise, to, you know, just like not ramble too much, to not be too long-winded, and just kind of get to the point quickly. I think Friends is the one that probably fucked me up the most, but I did say I was going to do that, so I'm not even feeling bad about it. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this. Let me know what you think about the new BTS album. Let me know what you thought about this video, if you agree, disagree with these choices. Everybody's channel who participated in this will be linked down below, and the playlist with everybody's videos will be down below as well. And yeah, I make new videos. I got a full-time job, so I don't really know, but hopefully at least once a week. So click subscribe to never miss anything, and hit the little bell so you get notified as well. Definitely next week, Yoongi video. Thank you so much for watching. I guess I'll see you soon. Bye!